You can ask some questions. I will start and then ask questions. I will take the question from the chart, right? So today's topic is related to medico-legal liabilities in counseling business. So there is a fundamental difference in psychiatry and psychology. Psychiatry means MD doctor, right? So none of you will write psychiatry. You can write psychology or you can write psychology counselor or preferably a counselor. If because most of the clients they do not like themselves to be associated with the word psychology, right? Because there is a like some inhibition, mental barrier when they want to approach you. So the friendly term is a child counselor or child and parent counselor, marriage counselor, family therapist, emotional wellness coach, holistic mind coach. So these are the friendly, depending on what course you are doing. Okay. If you really want to write psychology counseling, you can try it. So in my practice, I have seen that avoiding psychology is a word that gives you more acceptability. It's a friendly word, and that's the first word. Uh, that's the first thing in our book, new psychology book. When you create your title, write your name, the title, and NSCA Singapore. Right? Do not use NSCA logo. No, you are not authorized. Otherwise, NSCA will charge you franchisee fees. If you are ready to pay franchisee fees, you can use that. So normal cost of a franchisee fees is 1 crore per year for use of the logo. Yeah, the logo is costly. It's a trademark thing. Same, you cannot use the Cogville Power logo without paying the franchisee for that. So you should not use it. Okay. You are mentioning your association as a student or an alumni with NSC, not on behalf. Okay. Second, there might be some difficult clients, right? So sometimes you may have a bipolar client or depressed. Okay, especially when you manage depression patients, and if you see the client has talked any time during the session of harming self, okay, or the relatives are saying that there is a suicidal tendency, suicidal talk, immediately you should refer that client to psychiatrist, and internally you will write. Internally you will take a paper, you will write the client name and date, and you will mention there the client has come for this and you have identified this and you have advised this person to go to a psychiatrist and to get admitted in a hospital where the facility is available to manage suicidal cases. You will not mention the name of the hospital and you will not hand over this paper to the client. Never. Take the signature of the client or the relative. Preferably take the signature of the relative on that paper. Keep the paper with you. Put a date. So that in future, if the client commits anything, there is a zero liability for you. And do not take any counseling session from that client. Means do not give any counseling session. And do not charge. If you already charge for 5 sessions, that is our style, which you learn in NSCA to charge 5 sessions, 10 sessions, refund the money. Okay, because that amount is going to be a huge legal liability. Okay, so as soon as there are two things, one is homicidal risk because the client is schizophrenic, okay, or so much delusional, and second risk is suicidal. Stay away. Do not touch the client even with the telescope also. Do not see the client with telescope also. If you have conducted one session previously and the client is arguing with you, please refund me that money, and the client wants to saying that uh, otherwise the client will keep coming to you. Okay, so give them politely, just do not argue, give them money, and you are referring the client to someone else. You don't want that client. Okay, any technique, anything you know, you will not try. Not worth, because this is very minor fraction of the client, 5% or 1%. There are easier clients. Always focus on the easier clients. The easier clients are like generalized anxiety disorder, work stress, family stress, stress because of nothing. They don't know what is a stress, but there is a stress. They are getting anxious all the time, feeling minor depression, mood, and all those things. Okay. So these are very friendly and good clients. You should always focus on that. Majority of clients in counseling business is marriage counseling, and you should focus on this marriage counseling as a client, because the client coming for marriage counseling, there are two things. One, they want to come together. Success rate is good and there is no risk. If the client separates, okay, you wanted separation, I have helped you for separation. If the client stays together, so okay, you wanted to come together, I have facilitated you to come together. I have facilitated your renewal. Okay, so either way you are successful in marriage counseling, so you will make an easy name in marriage counseling business. There are some very adventurous people. What they do, as soon as the client comes, they will ask the client to fill some form. I don't never understood. And the client will fill the form and will take the photo sometimes. Or there are some adventurous people who will write all the history and everything and they will hand over to the client. Okay. Even if you are a doctor, you should never do that. It's not required. If they want a prescription, they should go to a medical doctor for medical practice. Even if you are a doctor, if they have come to you for psychology counseling, then prescription is not there. For your gynecology, pathology, or clinical pediatrics, all practice, there is a prescription, yes. Or you are psychiatry also, like Dr. Pavna is a psychiatrist. So if a client comes to her for psychiatry, I have told her, you write all your psychiatry medications. But as soon as it comes to psychology counseling, you will not write and give it to the client. Because there are two things. One is, you don't know the intention behind that. It is not required. Number two, you may write some techniques which you know. And this person will go to window shopping for 10 different counselors, right? So it's not good. That's insult to you. So do not do that. I will wait 5 minutes or 3 minutes for the question. Then I will move to the next topic of school counselor, medical legal liability. Anyways, we'll cover that on Monday, but still. There are some teachers or some from education background, NGO background and school, right? Right. There are some YouTube channel people. So you have to be very careful. Huh? When you talk something in YouTube channel, it should be disclaimer should be there. It is not advice, it is not medication, no treatment, go to someone else. Okay. Do not follow me anything. Whatever I speak, do not follow. You have to write the disclaimer in a polite language. Right. Correct. So you can write your name, the title, and NSA Singapore without using the logo. So this NSA Singapore, what you're using is not as your affiliation with NSA Singapore as the employee. It is you have done from there. Like when you do MBA from IIM, you write your name, Rashmi Taneja, MBA, IIM Ahmedabad. So similarly, you will write Rashmi Taneja, child and marriage counselor, mind coach, NSA Singapore. So there are some very adventurous people. They write child marriage counselor. I just love them. Okay. They have said this in video also. In their video feedback, they have said name and then I'm a child marriage counselor. Okay, wow, that's interesting. This video is going to perform very well. It's going to create more excitement in the market. So you are a child marriage counselor. So you stop child marriage or you promote child marriage? I don't know. Or they facilitate divorce of the child marriage. Or okay, so child and marriage counselor. Those who are doing masterclass school child parent counseling, they will write school child and parent counselor or masterclass school child parent counselor. Next Friday with the all appointment. Today I wanted to do this profile thing, but this Monday people, those who are not in fellowship, they are not aware of today. They were not aware of today's session, so it was just in time. So I thought with Friday, with proper planning, next Friday we will meet for profile activation, Google profile activation. Yes, that you will learn, Deepika. As you go, you will learn that what should discuss. Okay, you will learn that. You can discuss anything and everything. Documentation is an important part, right? The court doesn't know what you did, what you talked. The surgery has happened, the instrument is inside or outside. That is not the thing. What is written on the document, that all the instrument count is completed, all the swab count is completed, that is important. So patient was like on documentation from when the patient is shifted from OT to ward. Okay. So it is mentioned the vitals, signs of the patient. Okay, pulse is present, all those things, right? So it means after OT, the patient was still alive. Now something happened in the ward, that's a medical legal liability for probably someone else or something else, right? So that's how the game is played in hospital sector. So you should understand always, never bring any legal liability on yourself. Child and adolescent counseling does not mean counseling psychologist. Choose from there. So child and adolescent counselor. So can you WhatsApp me, Preeti, on which website you are trying to write the drop down? I will tell you that. WhatsApp me right now. While on the meeting. You don't have your phone or you're watching with your phone. You can what? Huh. Some ask some difficult question. Dr. Sunita, you should ask some questions related to your student. Okay, or some difficult questions. Dr. Lily, Karthikeni, Dr. Sayantani, Richa. What? Okay. So this question is related to Monday session, Vigneshwari, not Friday session. So funny story. Okay, we'll come to the funny story later. Yes. Okay. So anyway, stammering is a issue with or management, not of counseling. It's absolutely not counseling. It's a speech therapist, occupational therapist, speech therapist. Why should you manage that child? Right. Okay, that's a good question, Dr. Lily. So audio recording you can do, okay, and this on documentation there are some psychiatrists who maintain a register. Psychiatrist. I'm not talking of psychologist. Psychiatrist. There are some psychiatrists who maintain a big register. Every client comes to them and they will keep on writing the story. Don't like the idea. Okay. And then there are some psychologists, as soon as the client comes, they will give the paper and ask them to write something for half hour. Or they will start writing. Wrong. What is your problem? The problem with that technique is the bonding is gone. Okay. The client is talking to you and you are here writing something. Speak. Writing something. Speak. What? Not a good idea. So the good idea is always the client asks you something, you ask question, you engage, you interact, you understand, right? You're not a typewriter that you are going to write everything. Okay, that's something not to be done, right? Not a history taker. So you can first session typically you will try to understand all those things and all. Only the relevant points you will write, and those points are not for the client or someone else. Those points are for you to recollect next time when the client visits. Okay, a good psychology counselor is the one who remembers the client A to Z without writing anything, right? So because you go on Facebook, you have 200 friends, and all 200 friends you remember their stories, right? Right? She went there and she has that, and she has new car or new bike or new dog or something, right? And that was the month. You remember all the story. That exact story you should remember for your client, right? You're not going to have thousands of clients anyways, right? Maybe you have few hundreds. Can't you remember stories? So make that friendly relation with the client that you remember the story, but don't disclose your own story. Okay. So when the client starts talking about their disputed marriage, don't insert your disputed marriage in the story. Okay. I never write any students or any client's story anywhere. I ask what is the story and I remember it. So all of you know that next time when you talk to me, I remember what is the story and I always connect to that. Right? That is a skill of a good psychology counselor. It doesn't need good memory, it doesn't need IQ. It needs emotional connect as a friend. Yes, Seema, that's a very interesting question. Okay, and very difficult also. So we'll address that. So the question from Seema is, if she does a counseling session online with a suicidal client, right? Now she has identified there is a suicidal risk. Now she wants to document it, and but there is no signature. Simple. You type a WhatsApp right now, okay, to the relative and to the client that I see that there is a suicidal risk with this is a client, name of the client, and please immediately visit a psychiatrist in your city nearby or a hospital which is capable to manage this case. I will not be able to manage this case. Okay, right? And do not charge for that session because legally, when you charge, there is a liability. Okay, there is a clause. Okay, there is a clause actually. When you charge, the legal liability is firm, right? If you do not charge for a particular session, then you are still protected. Document it immediately. And internally also on your paper, you will document that you have advised the client and the client relative on WhatsApp. You have sent a WhatsApp this date, this time. Okay, right? Your problem is solved because WhatsApp cannot be manipulated, right? SMS can be manipulated. There are SMS spoof apps, right? You can show in your mobile that you got SMS from anyone, right? But WhatsApp you cannot manipulate. Okay, people were not aware how to get SMS from someone else. Okay, so today a lot of you are going to get job offers from Dr. Sunita Patil ma'am in our university. Okay, it's very easy. Just download fake SMS, any name, anyone, anytime. You can have the documentation that you received the SMS of any content, whatever you want from anyone. Okay, it is not considered a legal documentation in court. That's the reason SMS. There was one time it was considered the the Birla family case, very famous. Okay, and then uh, during the dispute of their uh, property, okay, the will of the property. So the SMS till that time it was considered as a legal documentation in India, but there was one smart engineer. He showed that from a judge I can receive a SMS right now, and he demonstrated that. And then in the market, suddenly all the fake SMS apps started growing. And from that case onwards, SMS is not a legal documentation. WhatsApp still is a legal documentation. So that was very good question. Next question by Pradnya should be good. How to enter this? Okay, that's good. So it should not come to you. Okay, ideally. If it comes to you, then that is bad, actually. It is very rare. Okay, Pradnya, you want to unmute yourself? And is there a real case? Because Pradnya is a famous practicing psychologist, works with SEBI, government organization. So she might have such client. We would like to hear that. Pradnya, is your health okay? You want to unmute? And if was it a real client or this is a hypothetical? You can raise your hand, please, Pradnya, if you are. I have clicked on ask to unmute. If she unmutes, we'll hear to her. Okay. It is very rare that a client will not demonstrate suicidal tendencies either during talk or something and commit suicide. at least the relatives will say something, or the client will mention something, or as a um, counselor, you will be able to understand. Okay. Anyways, whenever you see a depressed patient, it's always a safe protocol to document internally that refer this client to this facility, psychiatrist for second opinion or consultation or something else. It's always a good idea to document. Like I will give you a very interesting story of very recent example. Um, one of my student, she visited with her daughter, and like some not talking, depressed, and all those things. Then I was like, okay, when I talked to that child, she mentioned something. Okay, may not be something alarming, but she mentioned that no interest in living. Okay, so to safeguard for the child's interest, parent, and to myself, I have sent one line WhatsApp that this line was mentioned, should evaluate further. Right. So as early as possible, you document those things, right? Whenever you see a depressed client, the client of generalized anxiety, all those things, there is very less likelihood. So Pragya, this was a hypothetical situation. It was a, yeah, she's in train. Okay. So Pragya, this was a hypothetical situation, or this was a real client. It happened with you because she manages difficult cases. There is a likelihood it happened with her. As soon as you see a client of suicide who has attempted, talked about, happened with your colleague. Oh, the one when you visited Nagpur, you discussed the case with me. That was the case? Yeah, it should not be your liability. That should be the liability of your professor, actually, the college owners and all those things. So it should not be your. Okay. But remember that if you are a hostel warden and a student commits, now Dr. Sunita is like, oh my God, I need to pay attention. So if you're a hostel warden and a student commits suicide, so police is going to come for investigation and they are going to ask students some question and you as well. Okay. And that time, don't be adventurous and say something. I was counseling her. I had given her some medicine to calm her mind. No. Okay. So don't do that there. Right. Say that, yes, I had come to, it had come to my attention. I have explained her the things and I explained to her parents also there was a risk and she was under the watch and we're trying to help her. But from our side, there is no pressure from faculty side or our side. And what is the reason? I'm exactly not aware. Or if you were aware, you can mention the reason. Okay, without making someone else the scapegoat. Okay, right. So, right. And like what happens sometime a case study if you are interested. So, uh, boys hostel, one student jumped out of the terrace. Okay, and then warden was like very adventurous and all kind of thing, lifted the body and all those things, and then the police, okay, so the only case becomes like destruction of evidence actually. Okay, so why to be adventurous and do that? Okay. Mm, and it's suicide is one thing and abatement of suicide is second thing. Okay, it's not necessary that every suicide will have abatement of suicide. Okay, so the punishment is not for suicide, punishment is for abatement of suicide. Obviously in India there is a punishment for attempt of suicide also. So the person who has attempted suicide, if he survives, he or she will be punished. Wow, what bad stupidity. Okay, and and if the person dies, okay, good, he died. Now there is no punishment. Thank you. That's the law in India, actually. Okay, it's very controversial. People are fighting for it. So beyond our scope. And if it is abatement of suicide, then there is something. Okay. Now, Dr. Lily's question: if some person has taken some medicine for suicide, there are two things. Number one, you should not see this patient with the telescope also. Let the patient go to some other someone else. Okay. Number two, was this medicine given by you? Okay. Right. Okay. Number three, was this medicine taken without prescription? If the option is three, then the pharmacy license is gone. Okay. Right. Whether it be any medicine. Right. So suicide can be done by crossing also. Anyone who would like to mention what is a no? Don't mention it. Okay. So no, don't mention it. There are some crazy people here. Okay. So because if this video goes on YouTube, we don't know what is audience. Okay. So any medicine is potentially harmful, right? Anything, even the water is also harmful, right? Okay. So anything is potentially harmful. So it can be used for anything. So that doesn't mean the giver of the medicine was at fault. Okay. But as a gynecologist, if you prescribe midazolam, alprazolam, or something else, okay, so there is a question mark, right? If the client uses it for suicidal attempt, so that is not a good. It's better not to write those medicines, because if you see many of the general practitioners, if they see any kind of patient and the client complains there is a headache or stress, work related, they will just write alprazolam, midazolam, or something, prazosin or something, right? There is a huge legal liability. There are some Ayurveda doctors also write, and there are some medical doctors also. They will write crocin, multivitamin, alprazolam, and all those things. Wow. It's like a crocin or multivitamin drug. Okay. So, as a practitioner, you should absolutely avoid that. Okay, that's an excellent question. Yes, I'm going to travel to Delhi and kill you right now for asking that question. Okay, so you're not a doctor, right? You're not a doctor. I'm saying that even doctors should not write psychology medicines, and here you are a non-doctor and you want to write a medicine. Wow, that's seriously, even the PhD psychology will not and should not and not authorized to write any medicine, including crocin. Okay, not even crocin. Just a simple case study. You are very good, you are a generous person and helpful person. Today your maid comes to you and she says, ma'am, there is a fever. Okay. You give her crocin from your pocket. Okay. A strip, you will cut a strip or you will give her medicine. She dies tomorrow. Her husband comes to your home tomorrow and says, ma'am, what is the poison you have given to the wife? What is the medicine you have given? She died because of that. Give me 50 lakh rupees. Otherwise, you're going to jail. You like it? You like it, huh? Do it, just right. Okay, it has happened in the past. Okay, there are some people who have given to the slum area. Okay, the leftover food, they are given the leftover food to some people. Okay, the next day, out of 50 people, 5 people became ill. Okay, for some other reason unknown to anyone. Okay, one person died of road traffic accident, huh? And then other 10 people, they are like, hey, yesterday that ma'am gave food for every all 50 people. Road traffic accident happened because of her. Can you prove? Okay, you have to prove in the court after 10 years of legal battle, but first police will arrest you because one person died. There is a claim that one person died because you gave the food and 5 people became ill, food poisoning, because of the food you gave. Now you have to dispute, you have to prove in the court that the one person died because of road traffic accident and not because of your food. Right? You like it. So anything and everything is manipulated legally. So don't get entrapped. Okay. So what happened next? Jyoti, there is a half message. So what is your complete story? Yeah, Natasha, good question. Here, your client is not the child. Child is never your client. Your client is always a parent. Who is paying you? Who has come to you? Right? And who has consented on behalf of the child? 18 years. Child cannot consent. cannot pay, has not come to you. So the client is parent. Okay. Jyoti, can you raise your hand, Jyoti, so that you come on forward? I can raise your hand. I will need to find you out of this. Yeah, Jyoti has some questions. She will ask now.
Yes, thanks for this opportunity. So my question was, I saw one case, even I faced that case where my client was already under, medicines of depression, and the session with psychiatrist that was very me because that was coming from my extended relatives. So that client was open to discuss and was ready for the counseling, but her psychiatrist said that
Jyoti, you are not audible. So whatever it was less important point, you were audible that time. And the moment you started talking something important, that network was gone. So presently you are not audible, Jyoti. Okay. Yes, Dr. Sunita ma'am will ask some question. It should be difficult. If it is easy, then what's the use? So we'll ask difficult.
Hello, sir. I think for me it is difficult. I don't know for you it might be easy.
Yeah, that should be the way. Please continue.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I wanted to know if we have to keep a record of all the cases that that we counsel or we talk to, and if yes, then how long we have to, and what kind of cases do we have to document, and how long we have to keep the records? If there is anything.
From a doctor's perspective or a counselor perspective?
From a counselor's perspective.
Okay. So from a counselor's perspective, keep the record for your internal self. Okay. So the norm, NIH hospitals, they have the norm of 3 years. Okay. Before they destroy the medical records. If it is a medical legal case or a potential medical legal case, then it is lifetime. Okay. If any of the client you are documented suicidal risk, or the client has been referred to something place, okay, you should maintain that file. Okay, and there is no harm in maintaining all the things, and you should never ever give any document to the client. There is no binding on you. So there are medical practitioners also nowadays very careful before giving any documentation or prescription. So as a psychology counselor, it should be your last thing. If the client demands, I want document, easy, refund the money, get out. Okay, I do not document. I follow my policy. I follow my rules. If you want my consultation, you follow my rules. If you want your rules, go to some other counselor, harass that counselor, not me. Okay. And just politely refund the money and tell them, please go somewhere else. Actually, I know whomsoever is your enemy counselor, refer to that person. I know she's the best for you. Any more question? Yes, you have one more question, Dr. Smita?
No, sir. I just wanted to thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome. So, Jyoti, we could not hear you. Actually, I was also unable to hear you. You can please type. If network is good, then you can unmute. So, there is a question is incomplete, what you have written in the chart. Yes, okay. So, Jyoti has two questions. One question component which is written complete is, the question is, can a client consult both psychiatrist and psychologist at the same time? Yes, it happens routinely. It is the way, because with psychiatry practice, 50% dropout rate is there. With medicine, 50% effect. If you add counseling to it, 10% is improvement. Okay, and when you add some techniques related to mind coach or cognitive behavior therapy, subcognitive therapy, or hypnotherapy, then efficacy is 85%. Right, the success rate, and both always work together. The counselor refers to psychiatrist, psychiatrist refer to counselor. It has to work like that. And there are psychiatrists who do both the practice together, right? those who those who learn from NSCA, the only difference is that, for example, if they're charging 1,000 for psychiatry, they start charging 2,500 for counseling because they learn that higher level techniques. That's the difference. And the next component of the question, Jyoti, if you have a good network, please unmute and speak.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm so sorry because I'm having some network issue, and every time my connection is going back offline. So yes, so my question was because I saw one case, sir, because one client came to me and like that person was open to discuss and wanted to have my counseling help, but that psychiatrist said no, don't go to any counselor because you are going under medication, and we are going to change the medicines now. So it's better to have one session at a time. So that's what, like, no, that's very that was very strange to me because yeah, I saw many psychiatrists doing the counseling as well together, but this particular psychiatrist don't know advised my client, said no, don't go to any counseling session right now, once just complete your medicine first and then go. So that's what, like, I was asking these questions. Yeah. So
There can be two things. One is there might be some reason which you do not know, or there might be some history with some counselor which the psychiatrist knows and the patient knows. The client is not disclosing you certain thing. Okay. So there might be something. The psychiatrist is smart, probably, doesn't want this client to go and harass other counselor, the poor counselor. That might be the reason. You do not know. And then if that is the reason, better not to touch this person. Okay. Not to manage this. And if, or other can be, the psychiatrist has own counselor at the clinic, or he or she himself is a plus additional counselor and is little insecure. Okay. So anything can be the reason, right? Which we do not know. And now it is up to your judgment whether you want to take up this client or not. There is no medical liability, even not for a psychiatrist for telling him not to go to counselor, and not for you to take up this client. Okay. So now it is a client's decision whether he or she wants counseling with you or not. Right? Good question. Okay, good question. There is one question of that if there is a case going on some person, can that person conduct a psychology counseling? And that case is not related to psychology counseling. Answer is, why not? So there are doctors who have the cases going on because of their personal life, personal reason, road traffic accident. They still continue to practice doctor game. There are doctors who have medical legal cases going on because of their malpractice or mistakes. They still continue to practice their medical practice as long as the license is not cancelled. Right? Now there are some misadventurous doctors as well who continue to their practice without, even after license is cancelled. So there is no relation with that. 15 minutes more, please ask some questions. These were good level questions. I'm liking this audience. See, if you ask easy question, you become my favorite. Because the easy question everyone has, but they're afraid to ask, oh my God, I will look foolish. But yes, if you're a fool, you are my favorite. So if you want to become favorite, ask easy question. Okay. Difficult questions, oh, what's a big deal? Anyways, you could have asked me separately also. You are still student if you ask difficult question. Ask some easy, foolish, stupid question which everyone has in their mind and they're hesitant to ask. Okay. How many of you are backbenchers? The proud backbenchers. If you're a first, always first finishes last. Okay. So if you're a proud backbencher, then you will ask some stupid questions. I was always known in my school, college to ask as many questions I want, and most of them foolish. And almost all of the time I open my mouth, all the class used to laugh because hey, he's asking so many questions. But most of them are selling the lottery tickets or vegetables or some electronic store. And all of you know what I'm doing and how much I am, right? Right? So that's the difference. So other people, if they laugh on you, that's good because you are going to earn in crores. And those who laugh, they are going to sell vegetables. So ask some foolish question. Yes, Jasirani. Jasirani comes from Air Force family background, and she counsels Jawans and their families. Military
Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Mind course techniques. Yes, learn from NSCA course. Yes, Jasirani, please continue.
Sir, I have got one or two ladies who come to me. They are cases of depression. They are on medication. So the psychiatrist must have told them like on and off, they should come for counseling. So when they come for counseling, they tell me that, ma'am, we are not able to take the medicines regularly. If I take the medicines regularly, like I am feeling so lethargic. I'm not able to do the household jobs. I feel so tired and the whole day I'm lethargic lying around. And this is not possible because I've got small kids at home. I'm not able to do any household jobs. So in that case, how do we counsel them?
So this is a very good and difficult question. So Sunita ma'am will answer this question. Thank you, ma'am, for volunteering to answer this question. This was very difficult. Huh? Okay. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam, for the question. Frankly speaking, I'm not very this thing, but then what I think is, what I would do is that medications are important because they are working. Medications, somehow they have to continue and they have to make some arrangement at home, counsel them to make some other arrangement at home for the time being, as long as they are on medications, because they need not be on medication for the rest of, continuously on their life, throughout their life. So as long as they are on medication, it's very important to continue medication, make some other arrangement. At the same time, they can go for counseling. They cannot stop medication at any cost.
Thank you. Anything else you want to add?
That's all, sir.
Thank you. So we got Dr. Pavna, psychiatrist, plus NSCA star, mind coach and psychology counselor. She's the best person to answer. I have my own answer, but if we hear from experts, better, it's always good. Yes, Dr. Pavna. Thank you.
Sir, usually what I do is if at all patients are coming like that, someone else, what I, because I would be getting a referral from other doctors as well, like can say a medicine or an hypertension. I usually contact the doctors. I speak to them telling that this patient is having these kind of an issues. Do you think anything can be your own input or something like that? That is one thing. Second thing is having a complaint with the medications is very important for the patients, as Dr. Sunita was also mentioning. So that is having a complaints, and also as a non-medical professional, I would not be telling any of the patients to stop the medications. Actually, that is a very wrong thing. Most of the time I have seen. Okay, so that is one thing we have to have a look on. The second thing is speaking to a concerned specialist or a thing, actually that again builds a rapport between the psychologist and the psychiatrist, actually, if you're having a direct contact with them. So that is all my call on this is.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pavna. That's great. Okay. In such scenario, it's number one, there is a reason that psychiatrist has prescribed the medicine. You tell the client, there are some emotional changes where you don't need medication, but there are some psychological conditions because of deficiency of certain chemicals or because of some neuronal imbalance, you need medications. And there is a reason, very strong reason, scientific reason, your psychiatrist has prescribed the medication. As all medications, this medication will also have temporary transient side effect. Mention the word transient. And as you continue to take these medications for 3 weeks, these side effects will wean off. These side effects will go. If you take the medications intermittent, the side effects will keep on fluctuating along with your disease. So you will not feel the effect. So better is Stick to at least 3 weeks, 4 weeks schedule, regular medications. The first 3 weeks, 4 weeks are going to be tough, but these are going to be less tough as compared to your life without medication. So you are emphasizing the importance of medication to the client and tell that I'm here. Your psychiatrist has referred to me so that there are two things. You can talk your mind. I will use certain techniques to help you and you comply with the medications. My role is to encourage you to continue taking the medications. And I will never suggest you to drop out from your medical treatment. That's equally or probably more crucial than me. You tell the client formula. If you take medication, there is a 50% improvement. If you take only counseling, there is only 10% improvement. If you take both, it is 65 to 70%. Now you decide, what do you want? You like the answer? Yeah, you can write in the chat so that others will also see you like the answer. And it's actually a medico-legal liability for the counselor. If you tell the client stop the medication and the client goes or does something wrong, or client goes to a psychiatrist and says that counselor has told me to stop the medication, that psychiatrist has all the right to sue you. Okay. Right? And there is one more mistake some counselors they do. There is a treatment chart or there is a prescription of a psychiatrist. On the back of that, this counselor will write something. Or change some medication. Okay, yeah, this medication is correct. This medication is correct. You can take it. Oh my God. So you are evaluating a psychiatrist. Never do that. This psychiatrist's ego will get hurt and she is going to come back to you with all the things. It's better. What Dr. Pavna said is very good tactic to increase your business. What you should do, you should talk, the number is there. You should talk to the psychiatrist and say, sir, your client has come to me and I have suggested the client to follow these medications because it is very important. And whatever you are communicating, what the techniques you are using, you tell to the client, psychiatrist. And that is also an opportunity for you to say, sir, whenever you have such patients, other patients, please refer to me, sir. And whenever I get clients, I will refer to you. Right? So even if you lose this client, doesn't matter. You have won the psychiatrist. You have won the source of all the clients. Dr. Pavna is very happy now. That's how you want, Dr. Pavna, counselors to do that, right? And that's the way you should do that if you want to increase your business. Psychiatrists are the key. Okay, Lavanya has a question. Jasirani, you have more question? Okay, Lavanya, then Sarita.
Yes, sir. Sir, like if you said that if any suicidal case comes, you just directly refer to the psychiatrist. Like if that person asks, like once I take the medication from the psychiatrist, can I come back to you for the counseling? Like if he asks like that, can we suggest him to come back or it's better we avoid it?
It is very less likely that that client is going to come. The client has no relation with you. Okay. Right? It is very less likely that client will say, okay, after medication, after I get better, I will come to you. Why? What is the reason? The client will,
if he takes the medication and if he comes, like for suppose if he comes, like after coming, he says that I had these thoughts, I have undergone this psychiatric treatment and now I want some psychology counseling. Like that, if he says it's better to deal with that person.
You can take, if you think that suicidal risk is less, you should always document that time also that client has informed me the client is taking medications. So you ask the client, are you taking medications? Yes. Are you visiting the psychiatrist regularly? Yes. Okay, continue to visiting the client psychiatrist, continue taking the medication. These 4 statements you speak and you write in your internal document. Okay, also write, also tell the client and write also that if there is any risk, if you feel suicidal thoughts or anything, you visit the psychiatrist, because I will not be able to help you with that. Okay. It is safer to refuse 10 clients rather than to take a one troublesome client. Always remember, because that troublesome client will take your lot of mental time and all those things, energy. So in my personal practice, what I do is I always select and pick and choose since the beginning of time, easy clients. Okay. And in my, like, when I cancel the admission, like we have a group internally, all my counselors and interns. So if we cancel some client, we refund. So we write down in our group, the client is very demanding. Okay. So we don't want to spend our all the emotional, mental energy and time for one client, right? So it's better to help 5 easy clients rather than to manage one difficult client. And there are other psychology counselors better than us available who can help them. So let that client go there, right? Because the emotional energy, the time and limited resources you have, you can manage 5 more clients and earn better and have peaceful life. Remember, at the end, you have your mind and you have your emotional health, and client can destroy both. So always take good clients. So any difficult client, that has been my practice since 15 years, since the beginning of time, even I had 0 client. If there is any difficult client, it's better not to manage it. Yes, Sarita, then Rashmi.
Yes, good evening, sir. Actually, Mrs. Jhansi Rani, she asked the question, so I wanted to add in that. Actually, in defense, most of the times the ladies are alone and solely they are handling all the responsibilities. Men are mostly out. So in that case, they actually try to avoid that. If the medicine is making them lethargic, they think that stopping it will be better. But as Dr. Sunita said, taking medicine is must. We cannot avoid that in any case. And as Pavna ma'am said that, yes, we in Navy, we do this thing. We consult with the psychiatrist who has prescribed the medicine. So it comes in there also notice that the family is alone and the lady is on medication. So she need extra support. And that extra support we build through license cells. In Navy, we have license cells where the person, we assure the lady that, okay, few supports if you need, that can be provided from the your unit, and you can manage and continue with the medicine. We also speak to the husband if possible, or the commanding officer, the wife or the officer, how apart from this, how we can build some support system for her so that she can continue her medicine properly.
Interesting. Thank you, Sarita, for adding it. Sarita Rawat is from Port Blair, again from Air Force and military family. And she also counsels family and wives of military personnel, and has given the realistic steps that should be done with the military family, commanding officer and all, and the wives of commanding officer. That's for
It
the
mostly happens, especially in Army and Navy. Most of the time, husbands are out. So the ladies are completely on their own, and that is why they avoid going to the psychiatrist or the psychologist, because if they'll go to them, if they'll prescribe some medicine, or if they'll notice that something is wrong, they'll then who will take care of the family or the house?
very
So
good.
we generally avoid. So that is why we need to build a support system for them where they can continue with their
Very good. Thank you, Sarita. You are a star performer of Mind Coach program. I
Thank you so
hope
much.
your inhibition for video is gone now. Yesterday only Sarita has sent a video.
So my heart is still thumping.
You do it 4 times. You are afraid of doing something. You do it. Make sure you do it. And
I conduct webinars and all, but the moment camera comes in front of me, yeah, I I get uncomfortable. Otherwise, openly I can conduct lectures or seminars, but camera, I don't know. So you have promised we'll work on that.
yes, still you managed to send the video. I like you. Every week you send one video.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Sarita. Okay, Sarita has also joined the art therapy program. She does artwork on shells, conches, and all those things. Good artwork. Okay, Rashmi, you have a question? Rashmi, I'm afraid to unmute you because this is your first session. Please ask question related to the topic. Yes. Rashmi.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity. Little towards the business aspect, I wanted to ask, like, about charging the client. How should we fix or think upon that? As in, as a beginner, it should be something else, or as it depends on the worth or how much support you provide.
Having a big smile, okay, because of this question, because exactly this question they had 1 year back or 6 months back, right? And everyone has this question. You will get the answer in one of the Friday webinars.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
How to charge and what is the package you should charge and how many sessions you should charge. If the client is wants to bargain with you, so how should charge more if a bargaining client is there. So many people they have learned these techniques. Good question. Pooja Bantia. She's a gold medalist in PhD in music, vocals, talented, and uh, so she is asking what are the chances that psychologist himself or herself gets affected by his or her client issues. Very good chances. So, we are also human being, and there is a chapter in my book, clinical psychology counseling book, which you are listed, Pooja, probably. One of the chapter is maintaining sanity while managing insane. So that is a title name of the chapter. So you are dealing with all these insane people, and whatever they talk, if you try to become emotionally attached with them or much closer or friendly, you will get affected. You have to maintain a distance, a boundary, a detachment with your client. If your friend needs counseling, your relative needs counseling, you should never do that because you will lose patience and you will end up shouting at the person. And second, you will yourself get emotionally disturbed. So it's always better to refer your near ones to someone else. Okay. And if you and do not get attached to any client, okay, and do not have a reverse transference, okay. So do not put yourself in the client's shoes. That is something you might have learned somewhere or read in some theoretical book, that a counselor has to be empathetic and put herself in her shoes. No, as soon as you put yourself in client's shoes or become empathetic, you lose your emotions. Okay. And second thing is that you advise from your perspective, then you start advising from your perspective of life. That is wrong. You should advise from the scientific thing. Like in the new psychology counseling book, you have each condition, each symptom, and there are 20, 30 practical tips. You will tell the client to do it. Okay. Right? You should advise all those scientific things rather than from your own perspective. And never try to be empathetic or sympathetic with the client. Have a barrier, have an emotional distance, very clear cut. Good question, Pooja. Dr. Pooja. So after PhD, you become doctor. And to become a doctor in music, vocals, gold medal, wow, really tough, huh? Pooja is going to be one of our star performers. She is doing fellowship, I think, and mind coach for May June batch. So it will be interesting to train her. I like people coming from different background. One of the previous student was Vesa. She was the youngest student of Trinity College of London, again in vocals, graduate. And she has her own academy and all those things. Very talented. She has a YouTube channel also. Vesa, if you search WVSSA, sings with all these VIPs and all famous singers. Very talented. Her video feedback is there for MSc. That's the part where that is more important. So, what is the question, Karthikeni? Can you please clarify? We have to end. We are 7 minutes ahead already. Okay, probably Karthikeni is asking, can we get the medicines from the parents if they ask to give to the school before getting the consent letter after what? English. Cannot understand. Okay, Karthikeni, you want to unmute yourself and speak? We'll take this question and then we end this session. That seems to be interesting, a practical approach for. So Karthikeni has her NGO and multiple schools. She does not have one school. She is not the owner of. She is like owner of multiple schools, and that's what. Okay, she is very modest.
Good evening. Good evening, all. So sometimes parents used to give medicine to us if for any reason, medical fever or cough, they used to give. We are getting consent letter in the application form. So is it okay giving medicine at school? We are doing it actually. So after I came to know about this medical legal issues and all, so they used to give some paracetamol or cough syrup.
Okay, so very good and practical question. 2-3 scenarios. Number one, if the child is ill and having fever and cough and cold, should not be coming to school. Number two, COVID protocol says that if a child comes to school and turns out to be COVID, then the school has to be sealed. And everyone, every child, every teacher has to be quarantined. All the parents have to be quarantined. Number three, crocin or any medicine is twice a day, thrice a day. Probably the child is coming to the school for 3-4 hours or 5 hours, 6 hours. Take the medication in the morning, take it in the night. And number four, if there is a medication to be given during the school hours, and if it is not, yes, I was coming to that. So tell them to give the prescription of the doctor and the consent letter, because sometimes the parents are like self-medication, right? Okay. And I forgot the number, but okay, next point, 5. Okay. The next point is, any small medication, anything can happen. The simple medication of cefaxime, Zifi, or any of the tablet can cause some reaction to the child. Okay. A simple thing is that a child may choke up on the medication. Karthikeyan is now very afraid. She's like, I am going to strictly make a rule. No ill child in the school. So when she heard, my God, the child can get choked with the medication. Yes. And that legal liability is with you. Not with the father. Not with your attendant also. Okay. In India, the employer is responsible for employee's action as per legal liability. Yes, Karthikeyan. Anything else you want to add? You are now very
Yes, actually, for so many years, parents actually we advise not to send the child if they are not well. After 5 days, when they come to school, they used to say, "Ma'am, we need to give in the afternoon medicine." Usually, since I have inclusive school, special children's school as well, for some children will get seizures and all, so they have to give medicines. We are collecting all the prescription, medical documents and all. So apart from that, should I maintain anything in the school, or that is the reason I say.
Ideally, you should have, to avoid a medical legal liability, you should have one nurse empaneled. I'm not saying about the full-time job. Okay, empaneled with you, plus a doctor empaneled to your school to rush to your school in case of medical emergency. So that will reduce your liability. Understood. Now, Karthikeni has a school for special children, so they need some medications. Okay.
Yes,
Understood.
Dr. Mehta. It is an inclusive school. One more thing, I forgot short-term memory.
People tend to forget. That's good. Yes, crocin is also allergic. Any medication can be allergic. Yeah, that's good. So I know you're just loving it. You just want to keep asking questions, but there are some people who have to drop out because they are no. So none of the audience is very, very busy. Very busy means poor planner. So any question you want to ask, or should we meet next Friday? Yeah. So Dr. Sunita is like, I need to go home now. I'm tired. This chancellor is going to call me again for the next meeting. I'm still learning how to refuse. And that's what she's paying me for, to learn to refuse to her chancellor. Yeah, you know how much I charge. I'm going, because she's VIP, I'm going to charge her. Okay. Any question? Okay, fine. That's good. Great. Should we close? So we meet Monday. Monday is going